it seems to be fashionable to say that there can be no direction to the evolutionary process.
Jim Shapiro's major contribution directly contradicts the main assumption of the current theories of evolutionary biology that you will find in the textbooks. Because what he has shown, following in the footsteps of a Nobel Prize winner, Barbara McClintock, is that organisms can change their genes. It's as simple as that. But it's not allowed in the standard theory. But let me return briefly to Barbara McClintock, because she started this process nearly 100 years ago. Around the 1940s, she showed that if you take a plant like maize, which is a staple of diets all around the world, if you put it under stress, too much drought, too much heat, it will start changing its genome. It actually moves great chunks of its genome around.
She recognized early on that this showed that there were two kinds of DNA. There was DNA that encoded functions that were linked to specific traits.
Yes.
And there was DNA that controlled the expression of those sequences.
So you don't think there's anything called junk DNA?
No, junk DNA was made up because the finding that there's highly repetitive DNA elements in the genome went against the idea that genes were unique.
Yes.
And that all the genome had to be functional.
Yes.
And so they made up the idea of junk DNA, but that shows a lack of faith in science. A lack of faith in the ability of science to turn up new and unexpected facts.
Shapiro worked with McClintock when she was quite old already and he was quite a young scientist, and he showed the same process under stress. Bacteria also change their genomes. A very significant step, because it took the story outside the realm of plants, which is where McClintock showed it, and into the realm of bacteria. And once you got into that realm, you're into animals and fungi too, because we're all dependent upon that fusion between a bacterium and a prokaryote. Now, this discovery completely challenges the standard theory of evolution taught in most of the textbooks today, because those textbooks use the central dogma, DNA makes RNA, makes a protein, to mean it's impossible to go the other way, to change the DNA. But that's not how organisms do it. They don't have to go through the protein. Can you tell us a bit more about how organisms change their genomes?
Well, organisms change their genome in many, many ways. They move DNA between the cells. That's the very principal way in bacteria.
Yes. Right.
They can rearrange the DNA, they can recombine it, they can move DNA from place to place. What Barbara McClintock discovered was that DNA could go from one place in the genome to another.
Under great stress, like drought, excessive heat, whatever it may be that is challenging the organism and indeed threatening its ability to survive, what then happens is the organism detects through its external receptors that there is a challenge, that it can't easily survive. It then orchestrates the changing of the genome and then selects from what that has produced what works. And that's a general feature of the way in which organisms change their genomes. So why has it taken so long for people to begin to understand why that is such a fundamental process in evolution?
Well, I think they've gotten infatuated with the idea that evolution is special and has no control over it.
Right.
And no biological input. It just is a series of accidents
Yes.
that happen, and it has no direction. It seems to be fashionable to say
Yes.
that there can be no direction to the evolutionary process.
The significance of the fact that organisms can go in and change their genomes is that greatly accelerates the process of evolution. To rely on pure chance, people have calculated that it would be impossible to get the complexity of life as we know it today through pure chance. That means that evolutionary biologists in the past, like Lamarck, for example, the French biologist, were correct in saying there's a direction to life. There is a direction to the process of evolution.